Good afternoon. This is Michelle Oliver, and I'm here today with a very successful lawyer from Chicago, George Bellis of Bellis and Wachowski. Welcome, George. Thank you so much for being here today.
Well, you caught me at just the right time. It's cocktail hour in Chicago.
It it's not cocktail hour here. I had no delivery of bourbon, but I'll be waiting for that.
I will make sure that next time I send you a fresh bottle of bourbon.
What are you drinking? Do you have a favorite?
I do have a favorite, and I'm not drinking it right now. I prefer Angel's Envy is my go-to.
Mm.
I like this sweeter caramel flavor of Angel's Envy, Woodford Reserve, and um, Maker's Mark. But today we have a Elijah Craig small batch, limited edition, and it's quite tasty.
Yes. And I know just from knowing you for a time that you are a connoisseur of bourbon. You also have decades of experience working with business owners. And as we know, the landscape globally has changed and shifted so much. Many people are starting businesses who maybe 10 years ago would not have even considered doing so. And you've been through it all with all different levels of businesses. So today, can you give us a few tips? Like maybe we could talk about best practices versus pitfalls. Maybe you could share both.
Okay. Um, I'm finding one of the things I end up doing is I do a lot of business litigation, and it usually involves the breakup of a business, partnership breakup, corporation breakup, shareholder dispute, limited liability company. I handle a lot of those. And I think the biggest problem is if you start a business and you have a partner, you must have a partnership agreement of some sort. If it's a simple partnership, then a partnership agreement. If it's a corporation, you should have a shareholders agreement. And if it's a limited liability company, your operating agreement should take that into account, provide for details on how to manage the business, what happens if somebody gets sick, who's going to have responsibility for day-to-day management, what happens if there's a dispute, how do you resolve a dispute so you don't end up in court, what happens if somebody gets sick and can't work anymore, do you buy them out? What happens if one of the partners files bankruptcy? What happens if they get divorced and they got to split up the business? I mean, there's so many issues, and a good operating agreement will help you overcome and deal with some of those issues. If I had a prayer for small business owners, it would be, please have some sort of an agreement between yourselves.
This is very timely, George, in my life. So I would like to ask, because there are all different kinds of businesses that people launch, and people come from different backgrounds. As you know, I know a lot of women who they may come out of a long time corporate career, or maybe they've been a homemaker and now they are deciding the kids are older and I want to start a business. And I know that a lot of these women will jump in to, they're not even really perceiving it as a partnership, but maybe a collaboration, or they oftentimes consider it a joint venture, although it's not like legally a joint venture. So for those women, I know many people do not do this. They just decide, let's see how it goes. Have you observed this?
Winging it.
Winging it. Yes. Have you observed this in your
Oh,
career?
yes.
Often
Yes.
it's a trend,
It's been
a negative trend
trend.
into the pit.
Just been going on for years.
Okay.
Throughout, I've been doing this for 48 years. Pretty soon I could say 49 years. But
Wow.
years, and I've seen the same thing over and over and over again. First of all, there is no such thing as a joint venture is really a partnership. So you need, if you're going to call it a joint venture, I don't care what you call it, you better have an agreement. Second of all, financing the venture is where a lot of people make mistakes. They borrow money from different sources. They haven't thought about what their capital requirements are going to be. And they end up screwing up the capitalization of the business, which could affect your personal liability in a lot of ways. So you have to consider how you're financing the business, how you're funding the business, where your money's coming from, and how are you going to repay it, if at all. You could have, if your girlfriends that you're just talking about are starting up their nail salon, I know that's probably sexist to say, but they're starting a business.
Not at all. It's not at all.
Okay. And there's 3 of them and they want to start a business and they each kick in $10,000. Okay, do you capitalize that $10,000 or do you consider it a loan to the company that's got to be evidenced by a note? So in both of those have ramifications. If you capitalize it, that means you have to pay more franchise taxes every year to the state for your corporation. And if it's a note, then you have to make sure you pay interest on that note every year. And if you borrow it from your Dutch uncle, you better have a note for it. Otherwise, that becomes part of the corporation and it becomes capitalized. You have to consider how you're funding the venture.
Yes. And I know, gosh, I'm just thinking of so many stories that I've heard, so many people that I've known.
Well, it's not just stories, they're lawsuits. Because
they can become.
And that's when lawyers like me make money, because people mess up and they end up having to hire lawyers to deal with the issues. And for that reason, I don't want to take people's money, but if they have to sue, then they have to pay.
Yeah.
And litigation is very expensive. There's no way around it. And it's the cost of litigation is a whole other subject. But the worst thing you can do in a business is get involved in litigation. It'll just tank your business sooner than anything else. And so partnership agreements, not to cut you off, partnership agreements, shareholder agreements, operating agreements, the primary intent is to avoid a litigation between the partners. You could raise capital any number of different ways. The most popular way right now is crowdfunding. But crowdfunding has some risks depending on how much you're raising, because if you're raising too much money, you could be running afoul of the securities laws of the United States and the state you're operating in. So crowdfunding is not necessarily an answer. It could be a partial answer. But again, if you've got people contributing to your business, you want to have an understanding as to the nature of the investment. Are they investing in the business as a member, as a shareholder, or as a lender? Are you treating your Dutch uncle as a kind of a bank where he's lending you money and it's secured by the assets? There are all kinds of ways to fund your business, not the least of which is getting an SBA loan or grant, especially a grant right now.
Right now.
Yeah.
What do you know about that? Do you want to speak to that? And it depends on where you live, right?
Right. But the SBA has been very generous with the money that was granted during the pandemic, and it's still available. But that's not the biggest pitfall. Mm-hmm. I have people come in and say, we're starting a business. Okay. First question, what's the name of your business? Okay.
They don't know the name of their business?
No, so they tell me it's Frank's Wedding Shop. I don't, whatever, Frank's,
Now that is sexist. No, I'm kidding.
what,
Okay,
Frank?
we're not, no, I'm joking. It's such,
How about a bar, Frank's Bar and Grill,
okay.
okay?
The climate is very sensitive right now, so we have to be careful.
All right, I will, I'm trying.
Have another sip of bourbon.
Bourbon, yeah, but, I don't know if that's gonna make me totally woke. But,
Oh my gosh.
so Frank's Bar and Grill, I'm gonna start a business called Frank's Bar and Grill. So the question is, well, did you look up in the yellow page, like somebody, did you look up on Google or Bing or DuckDuckGo, whatever it is? Did you look up the name? No. Well, while you're sitting there, I'm sitting on my computer. I look up Frank's Bar and Grill. Well, there's another one in town. Well, I don't care. That's on the other side of town. No, you can't use the name Frank's Bar and Grill. Why not? Because that person has rights to that name. Well, then you do go nationally on your search, and you find out that there's a Frank's Bar and Grill in Bangkok, Maine, Bangor, Maine. Bangor, Maine, Frank's Bar and Grill. Yeah, well, that's far away. True. But Frank's Bar and Grill in Bangor, Maine trademarked the name.
Yeah.
Trademark. So you can't use that trademark, otherwise you violate. Oh, one more thing. You want to set up a website for Frank's Bar and Grill? Did you check the URL availability to see if that's available? No. Well, let's do that. Oh, somebody else has that URL. In fact, somebody's got it for not .com, they got it for .us, .biz, and everything else. So you can't use that name. So what do? You find a name that's not violating somebody else's name and is not violating a trademark. And then once you establish that the name that you want is available, and if you're really going to develop something, then you want to do a trademark search. But you get that URL, you get the name locked up, and then you file for trademark protection. And then your name, your business name, your product name, it doesn't necessarily have to be your business name. It could be, Rosie's Pizza. And it could be George's company doing business as Rosie's Pizza. And that's okay as long as the name Rosie's Pizza is available and doesn't violate somebody's trademark. Trademark litigation is very expensive, like all of it, probably more expensive than anything else. So getting the right name and protecting it is important.
In your experience, are people really are they naive to the extent that they haven't even researched the URL and like the local
Sometimes.
That's crazy. So I went through a very painful trademark experience with a business a number of years ago, about 7 years ago. And wow, everything that you're talking about is pain avoidance, pitfall avoidance. And until you are in the pit of the pain, the particular pain that you did not even know about, because the biggest problem is that you don't know what you don't know.
Well, yeah, they say, we checked with the Colorado Secretary of State and the name's available.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did you check with the other 49 states? Because that could be important too. Is the URL. Sometimes people do that. They come back and they've done the right search and they've checked it out and they've done it. Other times they haven't. But if you really are developing a unique product that is unique and it's going to be patented, then you also want to make sure that you're protecting that name, and maybe not just here, because a lot of sales now are global, international.
Yes.
You might have to protect your product name and the patents in other countries, in Europe, in Great Britain, in Canada, in China. I don't know what China's a whole different story, but you might
That's
you
true.
you have to consider what your market is to protect your name, because you could develop the greatest product in the world, and I'm going to develop a new bourbon called George's Bourbon, right?
You really
So
should.
it becomes a big seller, right? Somebody in Europe is, well, that's a great name. I'm going to start in France. I'm going to start Jorge's Bourbon, right? And there
Mhm.
goes. So the trademark has just been diluted because you didn't protect the trademark and the name in Europe. So
Yeah.
there are a lot of factors to consider. I
And
love it. I
I
love doing this.
I can tell that you do. So I imagine there are different levels at which you would, trademark, or you would have concern depending on where you're starting. If you're a solopreneur, and there are a lot of people doing this right now, where they go out as a solopreneur and maybe they have a product, maybe they have a service, and they're out there just trying to get their feet grounded, just trying to get some traction. And then other people may come in where they've had a salon or something for a time and they want to scale that. So if you're looking at scaling a brick and mortar to 4 new states, it's a whole different level of concern, right?
Well, then you're not going to, if that's what you're doing and you're starting it in 4 different states, then you have a question. Are you licensing the business to somebody else, the business name, or are you franchising? And if you're franchising, it's a whole other story,
Yeah.
because you have to register that franchise in 4 different states. And I got to tell you, registration in a lot of states is very expensive.
Mm.
Colorado's relatively simple compared to Illinois. Illinois, I you I think the filing fee alone is thousands of dollars.
Wow.
So there are so many. Once you start operating, you start thinking about those other issues, it becomes more complex. You can't scale a business, and you can't bring in anybody in. You can't sell your business unless you know what the business is actually doing. And I've seen that so many times. People come in and say, well, I got a pizza business. Oh, great. And George's Pizza, and it's doing good. I want a franchise. Okay. How long have you been in business, George's Pizza? 6 months. Okay. You don't have a full year's financials, do you? No. Well, if you register your franchise, you have to produce financial reports, audited reports, to show that this is what you're doing. You don't have any record yet. Scaling your business is a whole other issue, Michelle.
Yes, I know. It definitely is. So, what you are talking about today is essential knowledge, really, to start any business. And I think that more often than not, people do just jump in. Or if it's a franchise, that is another story too. And just trusting, like there's so many franchises, and I don't know what the statistics are on that, of how many of those fail, but it's a very, I've worked with a lot of franchises, and I know that a lot of people really believe it's a turnkey operation, and they get in thinking that everything is done for them, and they don't really understand what it's going to take from a marketing perspective, and many, many other liabilities that they actually have. They're not completely protected. So really, people coming to so do you do like a consultation, or how do
Oh,
you
yeah.
start working with people? How does that work?
Well, first of all, we've got a pretty extensive presence on the web.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you can actually start your business, incorporate your business, or set up an LLC online at any time of day. So in the middle of the night, if you get an idea that you want to start a business right away, you can jump on our website and do it. There are a lot of websites that do the same thing, but we do more. we don't just set up your company and cut you loose. We offer a checklist of things that you maybe haven't considered in starting your business. Something as silly as simple, not silly, simple as, do you have the right form of insurance? Because everybody needs insurance. Have you done, like we talked about, trademark searches, trade name protection? Are you going to have employees? Will you be able to have non-competes? I know here in Illinois now, just like many states are changing, people who are earning less than $75,000 a year cannot be forced to sign a non-compete if they leave the company, because it's turned out to be a hindrance to lower level employees to go out and get another job. So there are licensing and permitting issues. I mean, even if you want to start a business in your condo, you right out of your home, have you checked the association bylaws to see if you can operate a business out of your condo? There may be prohibitions on that. There may be licensing requirements in the town where you want to start your business. I guess the bottom line at the end of the day, I haven't even stopped to think about or talk about the legal form of the business. The nature of your business could dictate whether you're a partnership, a venture, a joint venture, a corporation, or an LLC, or if you're professionals, whether it's a professional service corporation. So just what form of business should be there? So you just can't say, well, everybody's doing an LLC, I'll do an LLC. Maybe, but should it be a series LLC if you're investing in real estate? There are a lot of things to consider. But at the end of the day, this is what I think differentiates my firm and what I've been doing for 40 plus years. Mm-hmm. In fact, I was even doing this for my father's immigrant friends when I was in law school, helping people start businesses. And that is, you should you must have a good relationship with a couple of established professionals. And people don't do that because, number one, a lot of people don't like lawyers because we're lawyers. We have a bad reputation. And that's a whole subject for a whole different, a good relationship with a confidential business advisor is important, whether it's a lawyer or an accountant or an insurance agent or a banker, or all of them, preferably, because an accountant can't practice law, and a lawyer shouldn't be doing accounting work, and neither a lawyer or an accountant should be doing recommending the type of insurance coverages you have. And wow, I haven't even started talking about insurance coverage, because do you have coverage for cybercrime? If you get hacked, and that's a whole other story. If you're dealing with confidential information in Illinois, if you're dealing with biometrics with your employees, you have a whole different problem. So everything we do in starting a business is fraught with potential problems. What we try to do is anticipate the many traps that are there, and warn people what to do to avoid those traps. Now that I stop to think about it, so you start a corporation and you're the president. Mm-hmm. What if you just signed a contract, Michelle Oliver, mm-hmm. but you didn't put down your office? You didn't put down Michelle Oliver, president. Okay, is that a problem? Well, yeah, it could be. It could expose you to personal liability, which is the whole point of having a corporation or an LLC, to avoid personal liability. I could go on and on and on But what we try to do is give them a checklist of things that they should consider, and at least reminders of things that they should do.
Yes, it can really become very complex. Very complex, very fast. So I do want to mention that one of the things I think is that many business owners think they can do it themselves. They think they don't need to hire an attorney or a lawyer. It's going to be too expensive. And we really wait until it's almost too late, like until you're in a problem. So one of the things that I notice about you is all of the education that you provide. Literally anyone can go to your website and learn a lot. And when you come on to these kinds of interviews and share this information, it helps people get to know you more. Like, it can be really intimidating to go out and choose a lawyer. Usually we do that. It's not like a plumber that you just open the phone book or you Google and you choose a plumber, right? So it often comes from a personal referral, and those lawyers may or may not have decades of experience in business. So it's really important to make sure that you're with someone that has that expansive knowledge.
Excellent point. I cannot disagree with you. I think that's what we try to do. And I've been always advocating that we operate a cradle to grave approach with our clients' businesses. We help you in the infant stages get going, get you off on the right foot, make sure we push you off into kindergarten, and
Yeah.
get you off and graduate and ready for the big diploma. And then if something happens, we're there to help you end the business, because this is an important thing. Not all businesses succeed, unfortunately.
Mhm.
What is it? 20%, about 20% of new businesses fail in the first year.
Yeah.
People are not ready for business. I have people calling me up and saying, I'm going to start a business. Wonderful. I need a corporation. Well, do you have this? No, but I want to start a business. Okay, good luck. Find another lawyer, because you don't need a lawyer. Go to LegalZoom.
Yeah, go to LegalZoom. So I do think, I know we don't have time to talk about everything today, but another topic that I believe could be really helpful for people is this notion of beginning at the end. So you mentioned earlier, if you're going, when you think about selling your business, that's a whole different thing. Scaling your business is a whole different thing. And I know that there is a train of thought where you come into the business with the sale in mind, and that completely changes how you are perceiving what's going on, right?
Well, would you give birth to a baby thinking that you're going to sell the baby right away? No, that's
No,
you're
that I usually sell mine like 10 years down the road. They're worth more. Yeah.
okay. That's right. When they're able to work and support themselves. All right.
Right. At
Or
10.
work,
Yeah.
but you can't you can't do that. I mean, a good business, a solo business, an entrepreneurial approach means that you got an idea and you're going to start a business and you want to make it grow. What happens after it grows is a whole different story. But
Yeah.
the idea is to get it growing. I mean, you watch Shark Tank. They don't talk about, positioning right off the bat, positioning your business so that you could sell it. No, they talk about what it takes to grow your business.
Yeah.
That's the object.
Revenue. Yes.
I love Shark Tank.
Yeah. You'd be great on Shark Tank.
I don't have a business idea to give them.
You do?
I don't.
Oh, you
No.
don't.
I've had 2 clients show up on there.
Okay. I was thinking you'd be good on the other end.
No, I had a client who copyrighted an idea for a game, And after the copyright expired, somebody stole the idea, the exact idea, and went on Shark Tank with the idea.
Oh, pain. Talk about a painful pit. It's
Yeah.
terrible. Oh my gosh. Yeah,
We haven't even started on war stories. Get me started on war stories.
okay, well, could we do another interview when we talk about war stories?
I would interview with you anytime.
Excellent, and that was the commitment I was looking for. So we will be back next week, and honestly, George, because you have so much to offer people, and I'm very familiar with the online landscape where there's a lot of spam, there's a lot of overpromise, underdeliver. The fact that you have been doing this for such a long time, you're very transparent, you don't beat around the bush, and you have real knowledge, I can't wait to hear the war stories. That's how we learn. So if you are open to sharing your knowledge again, we will be back again next week and do this.
Well, I think
And
that's
with some better bourbon.
I think that's a function of how much bourbon I have available.
Okay, well, do I have to send you bourbon? I think you've got a case of it. You can tell us every time we do this what you're drinking, and give us the story on that. Like what's the one you're drinking? Elijah. I've seen
Elijah Craig, Elijah Craig. It's available in every bar. It's no
yeah,
big,
yeah.
just a small batch. This is particular one is a small batch. But then we could also talk about blues.
Yes. You're wearing blue. You look amazing in blue, but we've got the music coming.
Yes, we'll have to get the music going.
Okay, so let's do that next time for certain.
Okay.
And the audience is guaranteed to receive a lot of value and some entertainment. And I can't wait to hear your stories. So thank you so much for your time today. I'm looking forward to doing this again soon.
Thank you.